morning, good afternoon, good evening. Many people have seen this Change Radio posting a video. Finally, the truth of what happened with the 2023 elections. A very bold headline indeed. What is really disappointing about this is that the person who is telling us this is the truth is the same person who was telling us the lies. And one is going to ask, so what has changed? What has prompted you now to tell us this is the truth? And why were you lying before that? Those of you who haven't had a chance to listen to it, we'll just play a sample of that video and comment on it.
A very good morning. So I have seen so many attacks on the President Advocate Nelson Chamisa, and I'm prompted to come and respond, defend him, and state the facts as they are. So I've been hesitant to come live with this program because of the risk it carries in terms of my safety, but we are in a struggle, and we have to fight with each and every arsenal we have. So I'm going to be honest in this episode. Let us go back to 2023. What happened in 2023 is so devastating to any person. Elections happened. There was fuzz, there was this, there was that. Nelson Chamisa won the presidential election. So ZANU-PF had the majority in parliament. But on the presidential, it was Chamisa. The official results are there. They are known. There is Chingumba preparing to announce the official results of the 2023 elections at 7 p.m. There is PV, a man who went to convince ED, Ndara, Majigiwa, to avoid chaos because of the preliminary reports being given by SADC, by COMESA, by AU. There is no way the situation will be calm. So, do us a favor, leave power. Okay. Mnangagwa hesitantly agrees to leave power, but this meeting is happening without the presence of the general, without the presence of Mohadi. Mnangagwa agrees. PV calls the military general and says, let us prepare for a transition. He calls the Chief Justice and says, prepare for a transition.
I think we just cut it there for a while. This is really annoying. This Change Radio has become Chamisa's person or part of his propaganda machinery. In other words, Change Radio has prided itself in speaking on behalf of Chamisa. What most people find ridiculous is that the same Change Radio is now telling us a totally different story. The individual speaking, it's not clear whether he works for Change Radio or what. But some of the things that he's talking about here do not make any sense at all. He's talking of Chamisa won the 2023 election. Nothing new there. Chamisa has always claimed that he won the 2023 elections. What he failed to prove was produce the results, the V11s. In that video, if we played it to the end, the individuals would tell you that Chamisa didn't have the V11s. So he didn't have the V11. And yet he says there's the official result, which Chingumba was supposed to announce at 7 o'clock, which would have shown Chamisa winning. Did Chamisa see those results? If he did, why hasn't he mentioned it? Why didn't he say, I won the elections and I had so many votes and Mnangagwa had so many votes? He never did. All along, Chamisa claimed that he had the results, he has won, and he is going to produce the V11, but never did. What is annoying about this is that this is typical of what we've come to accept as the norm from Chamisa and company. They keep changing the story. The main reason why this is coming up is over whether or not Chamisa and his supporters should join the many Zimbabweans who are saying they are going to join Geza in pushing ZANU-PF to change. This is what this is all about. Chamisa in this video clearly says that 2017 taught us a big lesson. And so therefore he's not going to join. And one of the arguments is that as he said in this video, that Chingumba was one who refused to accept Chamisa winning the 2023 elections. As we had the young man there explaining that Mnangagwa had agreed that he had lost and was negotiating with Chamisa. But when Chingumba heard about it, he forced Mnangagwa to recant on that. And so now Chamisa has got a bone to chew with Chingumba. All this was never mentioned all along. It's only coming out now. And I think people have the right to ask, why now? Why didn't you bring it up all along? What stopped you bringing it up all along? This is one of the problems we have with our opposition. They keep changing their story. They keep pretending that this time they've got the truth. They know the truth. And the tragedy, of course, is that their supporters are so gullible. They accept all this change of the stories, no questions asked. I think this is where we have a problem with the electorate. You can't keep on accepting meaningless stories. We need to ask the question, the relevant questions. What happened? We can listen a bit more to the video from Change Radio.
announced. And remember, the former president or vice president from Zambia was there in Zimbabwe. He knew about this. Then, all of a sudden, there is no announcement of the election results from 7 p.m. up until midnight. And election results are announced from a paper not known to whose advantage? To Mnangagwa's advantage. When Mnangagwa heard kuti ndo zviri kuitika, he cancelled the meeting which was supposed to happen. Nemkomana. He cancelled it. And they agreed to know, without the knowledge of PV, announce these results in 2028, you take over, I go to rest. Unusual. That is the reason why we are saying Triku Dilanima Conmen. In this whole thing, Triku Dilanima Conmen. And at a certain point in time, look at the Shansa language, let us tell the truth as it is. So what is happening is, they announce bogus election results, which are not traceable, without the provincial results. For the first time, Chingumba aka announced the results as not trace even to the provinces. Just from someone's head. Just like that. And you go to post the announcement of the election results. People are strategizing, people are planning. And people start to turn against you. Remember.
Well, we'll stop it there for another pause. The young man here was trying to convince us that SADC knew of these official results. And yet we know that SADC actually produced their own report in which they clearly stated that the elections were flawed and illegal. So at what point did SADC then change to endorse the so-called official results? They never did. In fact, the video, if you have more time, please listen to the whole of it. This is restating one of the threads that Chamisa and his apologists tried to sell to the people of Zimbabwe. That SADC was looking into the 2023 elections. That SADC was working with him to make sure that he is sworn in as president of the Republic of Zimbabwe. At one time, he was even talking of the dates when SADC was going to hold fresh elections in Zimbabwe, etc., etc. This is just a lie. Chamisa should stop lying to the people. We are now sick and tired. What is leading to all these lies? They have got a purpose. His followers, the so-called Chamisa Chete Brigade, are lapping all these stories, are lapping them up as if they're manna from heaven. The truth of the matter is, this is just regurgitated nonsense. If Chamisa knew of all these things, why didn't he say so at the time? are we saying here that the official results, the process, the 2023 elections were free, fair, and credible? And Chamisa won those elections, the presidential vote at least, and ZANU-PF won the parliamentary one. Is that what Change Radio is saying here? That is what he should clarify. Are we saying that the elections were free, fair until the point of announcing the results? If they had announced the official results, the whole election process would have been free, fair, and credible. Or is he saying that Chamisa won? The process was not free, fair, and credible, but nonetheless, Chamisa won. The official results would have shown that Chamisa won. We can't keep on repeating the same lie over and over again. Here is one of Chamisa's colleagues at the time talking about Freeman. Freeman was one of the leaders of the group of Zimbabweans, individuals, Tim Pachelu, who had the technical, the IT knowledge to be able to look at this, the Zimbabwe's voters' roll in great detail. And before the elections, they did tell Chamisa and the rest of the opposition that Zimbabwe's voters' roll was in shambles. Why did Chamisa and company decide they were going to contest those elections regardless? That is when he claimed that he had plugged all the vote-rigging loopholes. The truth of the matter is, he did not. He was just lying. Another aspect which Chilton Wande has exposed was the fact that Chamisa and company did not deploy election agencies at all the polling stations. What is really disappointing about that is deploying election agencies was one of the most basic things that you could do. He had the funding for it. So why didn't he deploy the election agents? The bottom line is, Chamisa is telling this, reviving this tale of I won the 2023 elections for the sole purpose of conning his 2 million or so followers to participate in 2028 elections. And thus give ZANU-PF legitimacy. We really cannot afford to keep going round and round in circles on this matter. The people of Zimbabwe deserve better. We at least should have the common sense of saying these election processes are flawed. Let's sit down and implement the democratic reforms to ensure elections are free, fair, and credible in future. As long as Chamisa and company are able to participate in flawed elections, we will give ZANU-PF legitimacy. And this madness will never end. We should have the common sense to say enough is enough. We cannot let the likes of Chamisa deceive us, pretend he has got the solution, pretend he knows best. He is going to win these flawed elections, when in reality, we all know that is not true. Zimbabwe cannot afford to have yet another rigged election in 2028. And yet, this is exactly where we are heading if we let the likes of Chamisa have his way. It is really unacceptable that we should be listening to some of these, finally the truth of what happened with 2023 elections is being heard, regurgitated, when in reality we know that that is actually regurgitating the lie. The truth that must be said, and must be said emphatically, is that Chamisa lied about having plugged the vote rigging loopholes to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. ZANU-PF did rig the elections. SADC, the AU, and all the election observers condemned the process. There was no SADC ever saying the official results of the election is Chamisa has won. If they've condemned the process as flawed, they'll be judging those results on what basis? It's just nonsense. We can't keep on talking nonsense. SADC have already said, just as the AU and any other election observer, you need to implement reforms if you're going to have free, fair, and credible elections. Let's focus on that. Let's implement the reforms. And let's stop telling people lies about Chamisa won the 2023 elections. He did not. If the election process was flawed, it just doesn't make any sense to make those outrageous claims. We really need to move on. That point cannot be overemphasized. And Chamisa apologists like Change Radio should stop deceiving the people. The bottom line is Chamisa lied about plugging the vote rigging loopholes to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections and conned the people to participate in those flawed elections, giving ZANU-PF legitimacy. Chamisa is a liar. He is a con man. And we should not allow him to con the people to participate in 2028 and perpetuate this dictatorship. That is the most important message we should give to the people of Zimbabwe today. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good night.